Hello, my name is Gabe, and believe it or not, this is my show. This is the second episode and first minor investigation of my series, Narrative Investigations. If you're new, to explain this in simple terms, I am a narrative detective. That is to say, I can answer pretty much any question about pretty much any story. Today, we're talking about The Good Place. Now, this should go without saying, but spoilers for all of it. Seriously, if you've not watched The Good Place, or at least aren't caught up, do not watch this episode. End of story. For those of you who stuck around, you'd think that with The Good Place, I'd have a lot to cover. But the truth is, I have a set of golden rules about what this show can cover. And one of those rules is the law of anti-prediction. Yeah, I've named them all. Some names better than others. What the law of anti-prediction is I am not going to attempt to predict what will happen later on in the show. That means everything I'd like to talk about with The Good Place is going to have to wait till the show stops airing. And I know that might suck, but I have my reasons for doing this way. But there is something with The Good Place I can talk about, and that's the subject of today's video. And that's how to get into The Good Place. That's right. This will be your guide for exactly what you have to do to get into The Good Place. Now, in episode 11 or 10, depending on where you watched it, we learn about exactly how the point system works. Before we can even get into anything, we have to explain that in simple terms. To put it as simply as possible, you have to have both good intentions, good results, and whether you're aware of the consequences or not does not matter. This will be important later. Okay, so let's start and actually spend most of this episode on the Forset Way. The show already tells us this doesn't work, but I'm going to go into why, because it's kind of important. Now, Doug does two things wrong, but the important one is isolation. Because, I'll be honest, you should already know that him encouraging the kid is probably losing him points. But it's the isolation that's the bigger problem for him. Doug has the ability to help society by being part of it. However, he exiles himself. He excludes himself from everything. Therefore, obviously, he's not part of society. When he does meet people, he feeds them his own urine, which obviously loses him points. Because they don't like that. Even if it's better for them, they're not happy with it, so that costs them points. And the animals he's so careful about not killing could easily later cause pain to others. Now, let's flip it! Let's see what happens if you try to be good the exact opposite of Doug Forset. That is to say, instead of trying to minimize your harm, you try to maximize good. Scenario I call, damned if you do. Let's start with the kid, whose name I honestly can't remember. If Doug tried to be proactive in teaching him and reprimanding him for being a psychopath and a bully, well, the kid would be unhappy with that. Sure, it might be better for him in the long run, but he'd still be miserable for that time, which would cost Doug some points. If Doug drove to charity events, or flew, or anything else, the fuel efficiency would cost him points because he's making a negative impact on the environment. If he walked, every step he makes does a little damage to the road, that would cost him some points. Now, I need to get this out of the way before we stop talking about Doug. When it comes to him, I see the discussion of intentions often being discussed. But in the end, I can't determine his intentions. The show has never given us a look into his mind, really. So until the show does that, I'm gonna have to leave him for some other day. Thank you. Another thing I hear talked about is his knowledge of the afterlife. Now, I don't know if this is what the creators were considering when they made the show, but honestly, I don't think it matters at all. And here's why. Other than the fact I hear a lot of he didn't have anything confirmed for him, there is another thing. Remember that the reason the humans were back alive on Earth was to test to see if, without any knowledge of the afterlife, they could still become good. So naturally, once they learn about the afterlife, the test becomes invalid. End of story. Sorry for that ramble. Now, leaving Doug finally, sorry for leaving him in the spotlight too long, there's one other point I'd like to make. There exists tribes of humans in the world who have no contact with the rest of civilization. And I'm sure you're thinking, they can get in, they don't know, but here's the problem. They still exist within travel distance of human civilization. They just don't know there's human civilization out there. And therein lies the problem. Remember, as I said at the top of the video, being unaware doesn't matter. So, how do you get into the good place? Well, here we go. First, you may not eat, as that consumes resources meant for others. But if you're offered food, you can't refuse it, you can't lie, and you gotta eat it. But if you eat it, you lose points. You can't sleep because that's time you could be doing good, but you must always set a good example and be well rested. You should not use any vehicles at all. However, you must still arrive at any place that needs help within the amount of time that those vehicles will take you to get there. Simply because you have the ability to do good at the cost of bad, but the good place system doesn't care. In other words, it really is impossible to get into the good place in this day and age. Yeah, I know. Probably not what you were hoping to hear. Sorry. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Now before you leave, there's a few things I'd like to mention. First off, although we probably won't be covering The Good Place again anytime soon, we'll basically cover any other story, be it movie, book, television series, or video game. Or anything in between, if you can think of anything in between. So if you have any questions you'd like me to answer about literally any other story, please leave them in the comments, and I will get to them when I can. If you want to see more investigations, subscribe. If you like this video, do leave a like. And if you have any arguments for or against what I said in this video, let me know in the comments below. If you like the video game series Danganronpa, my previous episode was actually on that video game series. So check it out if you want to. That's all. Thanks for watching. Bye.